Good evening, hello and welcome to this special broadcast. I'm Anusha Soon. It's been a mayhem each monsoon for the top Indian cities. The growth story of India is narrated in a certain way. Through its sprawling cities and growing infrastructure, it literally drowns in flood each year. Touted as the Silicon Valley of India, Bengaluru is witnessing inundated roads, submerged localities. The deadly Mumbai potholes, who can forget that? And the waterlogging that happens each monsoon is a blot on the reputation of the financial capital of the country. And a much ambitious project to make Gurugram, the much sought after real estate, drowns each monsoon. All these examples reminds us that infrastructure cannot be built by filling ponds, cutting mountains, and creating cities without sustainability in mind. The politics of it is much worse. Who do you hold accountable? Whoever is in power shall blame the party which was earlier in power. There's a complete lack of critical thinking in our political class to have specialized mechanisms to deal with the issues of climate change and increasing urban pressures. Tonight on this special broadcast, we ask, why are our cities drowning and who will fix this problem?
For a third day in a row, the outer ring road is flooded, and the Youth Congress mocking the government by throwing paddy, at the same time catching fish and saying, well, this is the failure of the Basavaraj Bommai government.
Well, let's take you through the key cities and what exactly do they face. India drowns, there is zero accountabilities for netas, and the big cities continue to face this problem. There are crores of rupees, thousands of crores which are spent on infrastructure projects. But are these projects sustainable? Will they help us in the long term? Let's take you through some tales of cities. What exactly is the problem? Let's begin with Bengaluru. The Silicon Valley has the big tech companies. No rains for 2 days. Key areas are still waterlogged. They've not been able to take out the water, and this is the key tech hub where there is inundated area, there's water which is still lying. Areas around Bengaluru Lake worst affected, the outer ring road, Sarjapur area, multiple other prime localities in the city of Bengaluru have been affected. Rain-related losses since June, over 7,467 crore. These are government estimates. Logically speaking, this could be much higher. What are the reasons? Excessive construction, lake encroachment, you fill the ponds that were earlier there, you create societies, parking lots on it. That's exactly what's going to happen. Wetlands, which are very, very important for an ecological balance, they have been encroached upon. There is lake connectivity, the interconnectivity which is lost, that leads to flooding of the urban areas where there's population which is living. Natural canals and drains have been blocked. There are illegal, unauthorized constructions that have come over these areas. From Bengaluru, let's move to another city. And this is yet another city where the hopes are much, much high. Mumbai. Now, there's frantic pace of construction. The green patch is slowly fading. We are creating car sheds. We are creating buildings. The construction debris clogs the rains and the nalas, and the drainage system is a complete mess. We know that story being repeated each year, one after the other, without fail. Methi River, it's more like a sewer right now, and it overflows every monsoon, leading to major health issues, major problems, urban civic issues. There are major deficiencies in the drainage system. This is a CAG report of the 2019 that pointed this out, and these issues, to a great extent, have not been addressed so far. Now, it rained in 2022. There's uncommon flooding in parts of southern Mumbai, Girgaon and Churchgate. These are, of course, very high-profile areas, good localities. Even then, the civic infrastructure is not good. Not to forget that the Municipal Corporation of Mumbai is the richest Asian body in terms of municipal corporation, and still you have this problem. Now, low-lying areas, if you look at multiple areas, they are the casualty. Kurla, Shayan, Chembur, Matunga, all the low-lying areas are submerged. People live with this problem. They've accepted it, unfortunately, as a part of their life. There's heavy flooding in city highways, Dadar, Hindmata, Matunga. Each year we see those images of boats being taken, cars submerged, and that once again, unfortunately, is being repeated. Chennai, another city. Well, even here, there are repeat offenders, and once again, water bodies are being encroached. You have the lake beds now, which are residential townships, something very similar that happened in Bengaluru. You also have no laid down hydrological plan, a larger plan, city planning. If you look at all of this, it's about city planning. These are largely unplanned cities that have come up. Of the initial 150 plus water bodies, only 27 are remaining. Where will the water go? It will come in our homes. That's what is happening in Chennai. It's a human disaster. We created it in our cities. You also have the airport on the Adya River in the floodplains. And when you create something on the floodplains, you are inviting the flood water when there is heavy rain into the city. That's exactly what happens. One of the biggest malls is actually on the lake bed. And it points out that when the real estate development and construction is planned in whatever skewed way in a city like Chennai, these issues are not really taken into account. Now, the transit system over the Bakshi Canal and marshlands is also something. Marshlands, anybody who knows basic ecology will tell you that these are areas you should not touch. They are very, very important to control the flood water. Flood retention structure officially have been abandoned in the city of Chennai. And of course, that has been a huge problem. Well, largely, if you look at these three cities, Bengaluru, Chennai and Mumbai, and focusing on Bengaluru and Chennai, and I'd include a city like Gurugram as well, that you've created constructions over wetlands, you've created a construction over a floodplain or, an area pond which existed earlier. There is no vision inside that where will the rainwater harvesting really happen and how one really is going to deal with it. Well, let's hear it from the expert. We have with us on the broadcast Professor Joachim de Vries, who's a chair at the department at the University of Amsterdam. He's the associate professor at UVA. He's with us on the show. So thank you so much for speaking to us. I want to take your view. What is it that the governments can do to grapple with the challenges of climate, the climate change which we are witnessing? A lot of cities across the world, not just here in India, but a lot of them in India as well, for sure, are unplanned cities. What kind of urban planning will cities need in the next few years?
What I want to tell you is that it's very important with regard to climate change and specifically the dangers of flooding that you have a governance system which more or less sets apart the funding and the planning for flood prevention. So that this slightly less spectacular task of maintaining dams and barriers and creating room for water is safeguarded against the normal processes of politics, where money is often leaking to more spectacular projects such as building roads, subways, or maybe welfare. So characteristic for the Dutch system is that we have been able to institutionally and organizationally set apart a legal instrumentarium and money for this purpose of flood prevention.
You're saying invest in less spectacular project. What is a less spectacular project?
Less spectacular projects is building a dam, maintaining a dam for situations that might happen only once in 100 years or 150 years. Those kinds of events are easily exchanged for needs that are experienced more directly, such as traffic or housing shortage.
Well, sir, here's also the story of Indian cities. A city like Bengaluru, which has filled ponds and lakes. In Bengaluru, illegal construction is a huge problem. You also have a city like Gurugram, which is built by cutting the Aravalli Mountains. What kind of corrective measures can be taken if one talks about these cities?
There are two things. Rectifying the situation in these large cities will take a long time. And it would need for India, but also for other countries, to improve their long-term planning capacity. But the emergency situations take place now. So you should also think about what small adjustments you can make to cities in the case they will be flooded. I think it is realistic to say that in many cities of the world, flood will be a regular event.
And to be fair, it's not just a problem for the Indian cities, but also for world-class cities in Europe and America. We've seen those images. What are the challenges that we'll witness on the climate change front, even for big and planned cities across the world?
Of course, the precise challenges to cities vary across the globe depending on their climatal zone. But in general, it will become wetter, more water, danger of flooding, flash floods on the one hand, and on the other hand, it will become hotter. Cities, even in India, right, will become even hotter. And we see that in Western Europe this summer, for example. Cities will become extremely hot, and that will be a big problem in the next decade. In both cases, greening cities, creating more green spaces, trees, the ability to buffer water is a key strategy to fight both extremes.
All right, Professor, thank you so much for giving us your time and joining us on the broadcast. I appreciate you joining us on the show. We're also opening our call-in lines. If you have an issue, if you are living in one of the cities and the urban infrastructure is in a mess, call us live, tell us what you think, 0120-434-1895. And this is literally our life and the way we planned our life in our cities, which is drowning. Who's to be held accountable? Who is responsible? Because the political class has completely failed to own up to this mess that we witness one year after another. Now, joining us on the broadcast is a panel of guests. We have Mr. Gautam Kumar, who's the spokesperson of the BJP. We also have Bhavya Narasimhan Murthy, who's the spokesperson of the Karnataka Congress. We also have Saurav Kumar, who's the director of Pothole RGA. And we also have Shriya Nath, who's the director of Green Cities Initiative at 3. Thank you all for joining us on the broadcast. Gautam, I'm coming to you. Gautamji, I'm coming first to you. Is there any accountability that can be sought from the politicians? Because if I had asked you what is happening in Bengaluru right now, you would say ask the Congress party.
No, I'll not politicize the subject, because this is a subject wherein all the parties has to join hands and support our CM and for the betterment of the city and for the betterment of the Bangaloreans. I'll never politicize the subject.
Sir, what is it we are going to do? Let's talk from the point of view of citizens. What is it that we are going to do? Because there are illegal constructions that have sprawled up in different parts of Bengaluru. The government itself is saying, is your municipal corporation is pointing out the manner in which the city has expanded itself. There are crucial, critical ecological areas which have been encroached upon. What is the plan of the government? Do you have a plan in place?
No, our CM and the city MLAs had a couple of meetings regarding with this issue, and the funds have been allocated and the tenders are on. As the budget falls in March and the rains have started in June, July, and due to this heavy rains within this week, we are facing this flood problems, and moreover, there's a total station survey done for the drains. And the encroachments also have been listed, wherein the government is seriously taking call to clear up the drains where the encroachments are clear.
It took more than 2 days once the waterlogging happened to clear one of the key prime areas of the city of Bengaluru.
Back to back, there is a rain, madam. I just want to bring to your
No,
notice.
sir, I understand back to back it's a rain. We live here in Delhi and that's the same problem we face. But don't we deserve better as citizens? It's not the first time this has happened in Bengaluru. We witness this each year. The political class, the administrative machinery could have been better prepared for this.
Yeah, I do accept there is an issue here. But the pictures and the visuals which you are showing exactly lays on the Belundu lake, wherein the lake is filled and the water is flowing out of the drains. And where the city is packed with the construction, and the major issue is the metro rail project is going on a fast track basis.
You're saying because there's a metro rail project which is going on a fast track basis, that is why we are having waterlogging problems. That's your argument.
No, couple of other projects are also on.
I don't think, sir. I don't think infrastructure projects which are underway are the problem. The problem is the projects which are already done, properties which are already standing on lakes and ecologically sensitive areas. That's the problem. And what your government is doing about is there is no short-term or long-term vision. I want to bring in a caller because callers are also joining us on the broadcast. We have Colonel Krishna Swamy calling us from Bengaluru. Sir, thank you so much for calling us. What are your thoughts? What are you facing as a citizen living in the city?
Thank you. Metro or any other infrastructure project has no effect. What has happened is, unfortunately, in Bangalore city, for the last so many years, the political parties or the authorities have turned a blind eye on total encroachment of lakes, lake beds, etc. With the result, the rainwater drainage is a big issue. The nature is doing its part, rainfall is coming. They say there is a climate change. I do not agree entirely to that. It used to occur earlier also, heavy rainfalls. But we have blocked all avenues of drainage. And this problem is going to increase. I have a strange feeling we have missed the bus. Metro is not going to correct this trend. Metro is coming up at a different level. The water is stuck on the ground. There is no way the water can flow from one place to the other. This problem is only going to increase. And I don't know whether there is any solution. I'm sorry, I'm sounding so disappointed. But I don't think the authorities can correct it at all because illegal constructions, encroachments have already taken place. At a very large scale.
And we have the politicians, Colonel Swamy, with us on the broadcast. I don't think they have an answer to this. Bhavya, I'm coming to you. Your party has been in power in the state of Karnataka for a substantial amount of time. The last government was the Congress JDS. What did your government do? And more importantly, whenever things like these happen, where are the local MLAs? They should hit the ground running. They should be helping people. They should be putting pressure on the municipal authorities to take proper action. There is zero accountability. The government has their own theory and explanation. What is the opposition doing? These are local issues. You should have stepped in.
Yes. So as someone born and brought up in Bangalore, I would like to say this is the first time Bangalore roads are unsafe and not at all ready for, the vehicles. In the past 5 years, 13 deaths have happened due to potholes. And the 7 of them have happened only in 2021. And my friend from BJP, they ask us not to politicize the issue. But I think it's time for the Bommai government to own up and take responsibility because BBMP elections were due in 2020, Jan. It's been 2.5 years and they did not conduct the elections. Today, when in these slums, these small houses, when the rainwater fills up till their knees, the people there, I am there on ground and I know they have no one to go to. They say we don't have a corporator. We go to our ex-councillors and corporators. They say we are not in power. Whom do we go to?
Has any of the Congress MLA gone down to the constituency, looked at the problem, tried to fix it for the city of Bengaluru? What are your local MLAs doing? There has to be responsibility and accountability at the local level as well.
Lot of Congress MLAs are visiting the places. And all these houses, when the water fills up due to poor drainage and the pothole, the recent when people died due to this pothole issue. Like I said, last year, in 1 year, Bangaloreans, that were youth between the age like 19 to 30, 7 of them.
I'm thoroughly disappointed the manner in which our politicians talk about very critical issues of climate change and what the urban infrastructure is facing right now. I want to quickly take in a word from Saurabh Kumar and then I will go to my callers as well. Suresh from Bengaluru, Murlidhar from Bengaluru are with us on the broadcast. Mr. Kumar, coming to you. Are you disappointed with our political class? Because I don't see any critical thinking. I don't see politicians talking from a policy point of view. Whether it's the BJP or the Congress which remains in power, more importantly, there has to be mechanisms in place, Saurabh, for us to have a better life in our cities.
Let me tell you with, the recent monsoon, we as a social enterprise, when we started off with the focus of fixing potholes, we have been getting a lot of pothole complaints in the recent rain. More than that, in fact, this is the first time that has happened that we have also been getting complaints from citizens saying that the drains are over flooded. Can you do something about it? Unfortunately, we are not able to help in that scenario. We are not the expert, but I think somewhere the issue also lies in not having the drains desilted on time. We have taken up a lot of public infrastructure upgrade projects, wherein we have cleaned up a lot of drains so that during monsoon the water doesn't stagnate on the on the roads.
Yeah,
that is. I believe that's something that will have to be done in each and every city. I'm not just talking about
the fact that you're pointing out sort of that basic silting of drains is not done. People don't have a helpline to call on and say, look, there's a problem, can you come and fix it? They have to reach out to the NGO. It only points out to the kind of system that we have. I quickly want to take in a caller. Suresh from Bengaluru is with us on the broadcast. Suresh, what are the problems you're facing?
Problem, the politicians, when they sit on the panel, they keep blaming each other. That is not the solution. This is happening for 20 years. Every 3 acres of land is a private layout. Government has not, each apartment you see, there is a Lakeview apartment, lakeside apartment, boat apartment, and all those apartments are all built on lakes. And Bangalore was full of lakes those days. And now every apartment has come on the tank bed. And it has not happened now. It has not happened 1 or 2, 3 years. It has happened for 20 years, right under the nose of corporation. Corporation has never bothered to develop any road. Corporation has just left it to private layouts to develop the way they want. So it is not blaming panelists sitting
I want to ask you as a citizen that suppose there's a problem with your local drain or there is waterlogging in your area. Do you have a number from your municipal corporation that tells you that call us and we'll help you? Is there any mechanism in place?
There are plenty of numbers, but no receivers will be there.
Okay. That sounds like a very particular system which exists in many cities across the country. Shreya Nath, I'm coming to you. These are distraught citizens who have no hope from the local administration. I hope, Gautam, you're hearing what the people are telling you from the city, that the local administration is not working properly. Shreya, coming back to you, what is it that we can do? We just had a professor with us on the broadcast who writes on climate change and urban goals, and he said we need to do the less spectacular things to make sure that our drains are silted, your dams are constructed, there is proper maintenance which is done. Each year you have to be prepared that this is happening and take steps accordingly. That's not what really happens with the political class and with the administration.
Yeah, I agree that we do need to do the less glamorous things. And in addition to silting drains, something that we should be mindful of is that the drains are also always filled with sewage and wastewater. And to address that, we need to make sure that there are uses for wastewater in the city where they're not just flowing into drains and then landing up in lakes, which are going to very clearly act as flood buffers in the city. I think also increasing data transparency, just having clearer maps in place to show where the historical waterways and lake beds are very important, because we talk about construction that's happened in the past, but we continue to see that there is still illegal construction happening in the city today. So those are things that we really need to look at and address immediately. And another thing that we need to do is really put in permeable paving and green cover wherever possible in the city. So the concept of sponge cities is something that people might have heard of, but really make our cities like sponges that can absorb as much of this rainfall as possible.
What really appalls me, Shreya, is that experts like you and much more experienced intellectuals and academicians exist in this country and across the world who will tell you what needs to be done. But when you come to the actual ground reality, as one of the callers said, there are a lot of numbers, but nobody picks up the call on that number when you call them. Gautam ji, do you want to respond to that? At least have a basic mechanism in place where a local resident can call you and say, look, there is a problem, can you come and fix it? You haven't even done that for a city like Bengaluru.
All the 8 zones have been allotted the control rooms, and the numbers have been allotted, and they've published in newspapers. Sometime I think the lines are busy because there's an overall calls, and I think the officials have to take a call also on this. Yes, I do accept sometimes they don't pick the call, but there's an emergency. Everybody has to attend to it. Rather criticizing Congress, BJP, or any other party.
All right, so let's talk beyond political lines. Gautamji, does your government have a plan in place that what kind of construction will be allowed and not allowed in the next few years in the city of Bengaluru? Please listen to me. NGT will do, that's judiciary. I'm asking your work as the government. Have you made any norms? Are you going to ensure that those norms are followed? Because real estate builders flouting those norms is very, very ordinary. And more importantly, the construction which has already taken place in the eco-sensitive areas, what are you going to do about it?
No, our government corporation has, according to the NGT norms, they have given the buffer guidelines also, wherein buffer guidelines have given 3 years before only, and it's been simplified.
Okay, let's see what kind of work will be done by your government. I want to take in one more caller. Mr. Muralidhar from Bengaluru is also with us on the broadcast. Muralidhar ji, what are the problems you're facing as a citizen?
Thank you for the opportunity. The question here is the people, the panel, they blame each other on that. The reality is that the government is sanctioning all these people for builders, and there is no proper checking, and there are all illegal constructions are taking place. And all these buildings are being owned by the big politicians, all the parties. I'm not blaming any. All the party people are involved in that. So nobody wants to talk about the other party because his own brother is there in the other the same. So that is how it's happening.
Bengalurians are really troubled. Bengalurians are really troubled, and that is clear from the kind of calls that we're getting. Mr. Mangalchand from Bengaluru is also calling us. Mangalchand ji, what is the problem that you're facing? Has the local administration tried to fix the issues? What was your experience like?
Good evening, madam. I am a senior citizen of 80 years of age. And I stay on Sarjapur main road near the Wipro office. This rain has caused terrible havoc in this Sarjapur road, and one apartment had rains which had flooded about 7 feet and odd, which has already come in the papers. But nothing is, the blame is being passed on from one division to another division.
Okay.
And another thing I like to bring to your notice is the divider on the road has been built about 2.5 or 3 feet of height.
And sir, you must have seen this city change over years, and it has changed for the worse. I'm short of time, but I do want to take the last caller. Murli from Bengaluru is also with us on the broadcast. Murli, tell us what your experience was. Did the authorities come forward, help you? What was your experience?
It's great apathy. Both BJP and Congress are like brothers and sisters of Karnataka. You loot, I loot. In 2019, in the name of Narendra Modi, they took votes, but zero job has been done in Karnataka, and that too in Bangalore. And I'm a regular traveler at the IDPL. Okay, and I was supposed to hit by a bus, but I got rescued by some people. Okay, this is apathy. And nobody does any kind of job. And I give you a small example. In my front of an apartment complex, there is a car parked for 4.5 years, and I have given a complaint. Nobody has come and picked it up, and the waste has been piling up there. This is on the Bangalore South, and even the Bangalore South MP or the Bangalore South MLA, they don't even come and turn up.
Absolutely.
And this is apathy.
This is apathy. Bhavya, are you hearing the citizens of Bengaluru? And I don't think they are making much distinction between the BJP and Congress. They are equally miffed by both.
It's really sad to know that, instead of calling the helpline, the citizens at least got a chance to, reach out to this news channel through your helpline. And it really felt bad to hear a senior citizen had to go through such an inconvenience.
I wish our politicians had done much more to address this civic apathy. Till the time, our politicians have a vision beyond their partisan political lines or their immediate political interests. There's a long-term policy approach which is taken, not to forget the climate change which is staring at us in the face. We will continue to witness this disaster one year after another. With that, it's a wrap from my side. Shivani Gupta joins you on the other side.